Joe Gibbs has sold a minority equity stake in Joe Gibbs Racing to a company or a sports and entertainment business that is run by the new Washington Commanders owner. So we're going to talk about that. There's a couple other news stories that has to do with some crew chief swaps happening over at Stewart-Haas Racing, and then a surprise driver in the Xfinity series for the Chicago street race, because Cup drivers can't drive, but that doesn't mean Cup owners cannot drive. So let's start with that one, actually. Let's go in reverse order here. The NASCAR Cup Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series go to Chicago next weekend. Not this upcoming weekend. This week is Nashville, but then the next weekend is the first ever Chicago street race. The Cup Series will be there on Sunday, Xfinity on Saturday. Cup Series drivers are not allowed to drive in the Xfinity Series due to having some unfair advantage for having more laps. But that does not mean Cup owners cannot, because Justin Marks, co-owner of Trackhouse, will be driving the number 10 Colleague Xfinity car. It's a pretty neat little story there. Justin Marks has won in the Xfinity Series before. He won at Mid-Ohio, it's probably been 10 years since that happened. Maybe a little bit less, maybe like 8 or 9. But it's been a while since he's won in the Xfinity Series, unless he's won more recently, and I just forgot about it. In that case, sorry, but that's a cool story. That's neat. Chevy, he gets to keep the Chevy tie there, obviously, but good for him. He's bringing over one of the Trackhouse sponsors, Jockey, to the car. In other news, the crew chief swap that I mentioned with Stewart-Haas Racing. So SHR announces crew chief changes. Riley Herbst's crew chief Richard Boswell takes over Chase Briscoe's team in Cup. Eric Almirola engineer Davin Restivo moves to Xfinity to crew chief Herbst. Former Briscoe crew chief John Klossmeyer stays at SHR in Vehicle Performance Group. So, SHR, it's been a struggle this year, to say the least. No wins yet, and outside of Kevin Harvick, who's top 5 in points right now, the rest of them are below 25th in the point standings. It has been a disaster of a year. Even Briscoe was on the playoff bubble for a bit there. He was like 16th in points, and then he got slapped with a 120-point penalty due to some counterfeit parts, which is bad, but, it's still... It has been a disaster of a year. Outside of Martinsville, it's only been Harvick, really, that's had competitive speed. Priest won a stage at Martinsville. I think Almirola finished top 5. Outside of that, though, as I said, disaster. Harvick almost won Phoenix. Harvick is single-handedly holding that team together. I don't know what's going to happen next year. Josh Berry's a really good driver, yes, but he's not Kevin Harvick. And that's not a bad thing. Kevin Harvick's an all-time great, first ballot Hall of Famer. It's not a bad thing to not be as good as Kevin Harvick, but oh my goodness, SHR. Oh my. But crew chief swap, they're at the point that it's like, okay, 3 of our drivers are in must-win situations. It's been a disaster of a year. Let's switch things up and see what happens. It can't make things worse. So I don't know if it's desperation, if they just they genuinely need changes, but we'll see how this one goes. So Stewart-Haas Racing making some big changes here. And then as for the Xfinity, Herbst he's had a solid year. Yeah, he hasn't won yet, but I remember he had a really strong start to the year. A lot of top 10s, a couple of top 5s. I think he even led some laps there. So it's been a slightly better year for Herbst, I believe, but as on the Cup side of things, it's a dumpster fire. It's the Stewart-Haas Racing. They need help. They need a lot of help. Anyways, on to the biggest story of the day. Joe Gibbs Racing, owned by Joe Gibbs, as to why it's called Joe Gibbs Racing, obviously, has sold a minority equity stake in their team. Now, this was reported on this morning, and in fact, I kid you not, as soon as I started recording this video, I saw the announcement, the press release, 30 seconds into this video, so I now have the press release. We're going to read all of it. Today, Joe Gibbs Racing, JGR, announced it has received a significant investment from Harris Blitzer Sports Entertainment, or HBSE, yeah, that's what I said, and Arctos Partners. The minority investment aims to support Coach Gibbs' vision for the growth of JGR as a family company and as a continued leader in NASCAR. Through the investment, Joe Gibbs will also become a limited partner in Harris HBSE, pending approval by the NBA and NHL. Josh Harris, David Blitzer, and their entire team have a vision that has delivered winning franchises in basketball, hockey, soccer, and youth sports. Their teams are among the most successful in their leagues and growing audience. Sorry, my mouse was over that. And sponsorship, and their commitment to the communities they work in are unparalleled. I am excited to join the HBSE family and to have their support in growing Joe Gibbs Racing, said Joe Gibbs, owner of Joe Gibbs Racing. I added that in myself. In recent years, I've been fortunate enough to get to know Coach Gibbs and am proud to count him as a trusted friend and advisor, said HBSE's co-founder Josh Harris. Joe is a winner, first in football and then with Joe Gibbs Racing. He has led organizations that build winning cultures based on strong values and a deep commitment to family and faith. This investment and partnership aims to support his vision and allow Joe Gibbs Racing to continue its track record of excellence long into the future. On Coach Gibbs joining HBSE as a limited partner, co-founder David Blitzer said, "We welcome Coach Gibbs and JGR to the HBSE family. At HBSE, our definition of winning extends beyond the playing surface to positively impact the communities we serve. Coach Gibbs and his team epitomize that, and we're excited to support him and his team as they continue to grow. We're thrilled to be entering this partnership with Joe Gibbs Racing alongside HBSE," said Chad Hutchinson, partner at Arctos Partners. Coach Gibbs has created one of the most successful organizations in NASCAR, and we are excited about the opportunity to support JGR's growth as they continue to be a leader on the track. Joe Gibbs Racing was founded in 1992 by Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Joe Gibbs. The team captured its first win at the 1993 Daytona 500, and since that time, JGR has totaled more combined wins across NASCAR's top 3 national series than any other organization in the history of the sport. That win total now stands at 401, including 204 NASCAR Cup Series victories and 197 wins in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Over that time, JGR has captured 5 NASCAR Cup Series championships and 6 NASCAR Xfinity Series owner championships. Gibbs was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2020. Ardea Partners LP served as the exclusive financial advisor to the Joe Gibbs Racing Incorporated. I love how that's the last line. Just, they got to throw their name in there. They got to make sure that they were mentioned. But, yes, so in conclusion, to sum this all up in about a sentence, Joe Gibbs has sold a minority stake to this group here for Joe Gibbs Racing, and then also Joe Gibbs now is like a limited partner, owner, something in the Philadelphia 76ers and New Jersey Devils. So, Joe Gibbs is going to experience a lot of losing with the 76ers. Ha ha ha. Everyone, let's all laugh at Philadelphia. All of their teams. Let's laugh at all of the Philadelphia teams. But on a serious note, it basically seems like a trade. It's an unofficial trade, Gibbs gives up some of his race team and he buys into some of their teams, but it seems like this group, they do own a couple of big, high-profile, very expensive sports teams, as I said, the 76ers and the Devils. But they are also going in on the Washington Commanders, which Joe Gibbs used to coach. In fact, I think he won a couple of Super Bowls when he coached there. So this feels like, in terms of their side, the HBSE side, it seems like they are trying to connect with Gibbs in terms of the Washington Commanders, like trying to get that connection, So that's pretty interesting. Josh Harris, he's the guy who's kind of in that whole Washington Commanders buying that team. I think Magic Johnson, NBA legend, Hall of Famer, he's involved in that ownership team, or the team buying the Commanders. So from that aspect, it's pretty neat. Joe Gibbs getting reconnected with the team he used to coach in the NFL. That's a neat little thing. I'm sure that they'll have him out at games, talking to, potential sponsors. I mean, FedEx sponsors, I think, the field at wherever the Commanders play. I think it's in like just outside of DC in Maryland or something. But my point being that I'm sure that now that Gibbs, him and Josh Harris are connected, that they will go together to some Commanders games, talk to sponsors, talk to players, whatever it may be. to try to, I don't know, hype up the team, hype up the fan base. Joe Gibbs was a part of their most successful time in franchise history, so I'm sure that there's going to be something there. But then on the NASCAR side of things, there's some more details that Adam Stern gave. It says that Joe Gibbs and Dave Alpern, which is the president of Joe Gibbs Racing, they will continue to run Joe Gibbs Racing, while HBSE will help in areas like marketing and sales plus funding. The team name will not change. Gibbs becomes a part owner of the 76ers and Devils, as we said. And of course, that has to get approved by the NBA and NHL. So, yeah, in terms of the NASCAR side of things, you're not going to see many changes. It's not going to be like what happened when Brad Keselowski bought into Roush Fenway Racing. It's not going to become JGHBSER. That is a long acronym. It is not going to be that. But, on a serious note, it's not going to be a name change. They might have their logo somewhere on the car. I don't know. If they want that, they're part owner in the team now. But it doesn't seem like that. It seems like this is a more financial thing. As it said there, funding, I think that's big. NASCAR is a very expensive sport to be in. You got to build race cars. You got to provide parts. The cars are going to crash, so you got to get new parts. You got to pay the drivers a lot of money, especially when you're a big, successful team like Joe Gibbs Racing and you have Hall of Famers in the car. They are going to ask for a big paycheck, and sometimes you can't pay them. Last summer, Kyle Busch. Speaking of, this hat is outdated. But point being that this seems like a financial thing in terms of the NASCAR side of things. It seems like Harris and Gibbs have been together before, but it's only a minority equity stake. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's less than 49%. I don't know how many owners there are. Obviously, Joe Gibbs owns the majority. I think his sons also had ownership, Coy and JD. I don't know how the inheritance, because both of them have died. I don't know, if their kids now have part ownership or if their spouses have part ownership. I'm not really 100% sure how that's divided, honestly. But, this group coming in buying, it can't be that much, right? I mean, it seems like it's a decent chunk. I don't know, 10, 15%. I'm not a business expert. I don't know how much it's going to be. But I don't know how much they paid to become a part owner. I don't know if this deal was just Joe Gibbs, you get this, we get this. No money is exchanged. It's just the ownership swap, essentially. So I don't know the details of that, but it says Stern also said talks started before Josh Harris started pursuing the Commanders, and JGR has sought a buyer since the offseason. Gibbs has told people close to him that he intends to keep the team in the family and would only sell a minority stake. So that leads to another talking point, which is, how much time does Joe Gibbs have left as an owner? He's 82 years old. Does he want to retire, essentially? Is that time coming? His sons were obviously in position to take over, but sadly, tragically, they've both passed away. So I don't know, in terms of the family, Joe Gibbs wants to keep it in the family, which makes sense. But who is essentially the heir to the throne? Who's going to take over Joe Gibbs Racing once Joe Gibbs steps down from his ownership role? You got Ty Gibbs in the car right now in the 54, but he's 20 years old? I don't think you can give him Joe Gibbs Racing, and it's no disrespect to him. It's just, that's a lot of pressure. He's got enough pressure as is driving a Cup Series car for his grandpa. Now you want him to take over the team. That's not going to happen, okay? That was just the first example I could think of. So I don't know who the ownership would go to next, who would take over Joe Gibbs' role. If it was to stay in the family, maybe you just keep the ownership, you keep it in Joe Gibbs Racing's name, or Joe Gibbs' name, but maybe Dave Alpern takes over as the owner for a bit. Maybe he does that role until someone is old enough to take over. Joe Gibbs has a lot of grandkids. I think he has 10, 11 grandkids. I don't know. But he's got grandkids. Maybe one of them can take over. Maybe one of his daughter-in-laws can take over. I'm not 100% sure who's going to take over Joe Gibbs Racing once Joe Gibbs steps down. But he is 82 years old. He might want to retire soon. I don't know. So it seems like Joe Gibbs, maybe his wife. I don't know how old his wife is, but yeah, it seems like Joe Gibbs Racing, they've been discussing selling a minority stake in the team for a good bit now. I mean, this says since the off season, so that was back December of last year, January of this year. That's 5-6 months ago. So yeah, it seems like these discussions have been going on for a while, and it has happened. Joe Gibbs Racing has sold a minority stake in the team. In return, he got some ownership of the 76ers, the New Jersey Devils. So in the immediate NASCAR term, it doesn't mean much in terms of the look of the car, the team name. It's still Joe Gibbs Racing. It's still operated by Joe Gibbs. But in terms of the financial side of things, it seems like it's going to be a little bit of a boost for him. Seems like it's going to help him. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Joe Gibbs Racing. Nothing significant, obviously, as of now. But changes at Joe Gibbs Racing have been made. And yeah, so thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you feel informed. More videos this week. I made a diecast review last week, and I put up another poll for you to vote on. So go vote on that. Let me know which diecast you want to see next. I'll do that either tomorrow or, well, tomorrow's the Josh Berry announcement, so I guess I'll do that Thursday. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a great rest of your day.